And he said, well, why do you call that hat a call? And he said, well, I had to call it something.
Those radio commercials in French were really superb, and I wish they had kept those, that we could hear them today. Because as a young girl, I used to listen to them on the radio, and they had actors who would talk about the pains and the douleurs and the aches, but the Hadacol had cured them. And it was very dramatic and very funny.
Look at the price. $1, what, 25?
$25.
Wasn't cheap. Those days.
$1.25 at the bottom.
And wasn't this during Prohibition when you couldn't buy?
No. That was in the 50s.
Okay.
It was very young girl. Somebody said.
Neal, I think people get so carried away with the Hadacol, they forget that for a long time, Senator Long was kind of the voice of the Cajuns.
That's right.
And on Sundays, after Sunday midday, he gave the news of the day, en français, in French. And he kind of reinstilled a sense of pride in the Cajun people. And we have him to thank for all of the promotions today, like the Acadien, Réveil Acadien, all these other festivals that are going on. It's because of the efforts of people like him. They made fun of him, true. But he had a point.
His point was to make
people understand that they had nothing to be ashamed of because they were of Acadian descent. And I think that we owe him a debt of gratitude.
And in the 1930s, he took a whole bunch of young ladies from Acadie in what they thought was the Casket Girls outfit.
Right.
And Lillian Maine was one of them, and I can see her living room now with the picture of the girls there, and they went to the president's home to meet the president as well, dressed in their costumes. And then after that, he was the first one to write that book on the Acadians, and in the last pages of it, he included a lot of the lists of the people who were involved in the Galvez March.
He really contributed a lot, and at the time, he was quite the success, because many of the people on his cavalcade, he went throughout the country advertising, of course, for his business and to make money. But he had quality names, and when I mean quality, I mean star quality people, maybe Bob Hope and maybe people of that level in show business that were part of his advertising. Interesting.
Does anybody remember the opening line?
Monsieur, mesdames, et mes chers amis. I love it.
That Abra house, Miss Abra was a Harris, and that's now the Opelousas Museum of Art building.
Abra, I didn't know that was it.
On the corner of Bellevue and Union Street.
Doesn't look like it.
Well,
Or they removed the front.
That's the top story.
Now, originally it was a store downstairs, and the family lived up there. And the building as it is now, she's added to the back, but that brick building, federal architecture, and then there was a frame part added to the back of it. But there was a window up there where you could still read something about, it was a store down there. And in the back, sometimes Indians would come to town to do business with them, and they would camp in the backyard where the lot is there. One of the little jokes, of course, that goes around is with the bars and all of that, there were facilities for gentlemen, but there were no facilities, public facilities for ladies. So you didn't drink water all day when you came to Opelousas.
Hyman's department store.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Window shopping.
And raffling a turkey every week.
They had groceries to the rear.
That's right. One of the Siegel boys ran the grocery in the back.
That was the store that had the staircase going
Yes.
as you walked in the door?
Yes.
Main Street?
It's Opelousas now.
This is LaFond Coffin and Blacksmith Shop, 1904.
Mr. Lafont and Mr. Cruchette worked for Sandoz. The Lafont family is kin to the Cruchettes and the Jobins. And the Jobin and Sandoz had it, and they worked for him. And then people would call Sandoz at the death of a family member, and they would call, and then Mr. Cruchette and Mr. Lafont would make the coffin, the wooden coffin. And then they went into business for themselves, and that was the beginning of Lafont Funeral Home.
And this moved to that new building.
They moved to that, and that was our first demonstration library building that after Lafont's moved and bought Tony Sasher's house on the highway, 182, then for 2 years we ran a demonstration library in that building. The building itself belonged to the Petitjeans, and it's now the Opelousas Museum and Interpretive Center.
And this is the write-up I have on it. Berto Motor Company Incorporated. They sold DeSoto, Plymouth, and International trucks.
And it was down on Landry Street where Darrell Thibodeau.
Perkins Jewelry.
Look at Patsy Perkins. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Patsy Perkins on the left.
Yeah.
For Curry, past the Curry.
Yeah. And Mr. and Ms. Oswald Perkins.
Now this is
I didn't know that.
that slide is out of place, but
Walton.
Mr. Gary
Walton's
Walters.
jewelry,
Yeah.
jewelry. Austin and Abs.
Oh, yeah.
Now this slide right here was a grocery store inside what would later become the Bordelon Ford garage. And we'll see that in a minute.
It's the building right on the street. It used to be called the Firestone store, if some of you remember that, and they sold Victor Underpong, who married in, it was kin to the Bordelon family. He worked in there.
People's State Bank
That's still, the building's still there. Huh?
in what became Morningweg Jewelry Store.
Yes.
So this was the early 1900s, probably around 1911 or so.
That's on Main Street. On Fort. Is that on Fort?
No, it was on Landry Street, and it was in the middle of the block.
Oh, man.
So this is what it became, the same building. It became Morningweg and Son.
Was that close to Bodemo's?
No, Bordemo's is on
Oh,
Bellevue
yes,
Street.
yeah.
This was over on
Yeah.
Landry Street.
Engraved at the top, right up here, if y'all can see that, my person, it says Frank Scarpanero
Scarpanato.
The T in
August 1946, and it became Boatman's Cleaners.
That's right.
I used to shoot pool in there.
There too.
They came from Italy, and I believe afterwards, they retire and go back. Some of the family went back to Italy. They had a boy and a girl.
This is where we went and sold our cattle.
Yep.
At the time, in 1955, it was K. Jennings Sales and Commission Barn.
Kavanaugh
Kavanaugh
Jennings.
Jennings.
Huh?
Kavanaugh.
Jennings. And now it's Dominic Stockyard. This is the original Bodemo's printing office.
1991.
Picture was taken in 1894. And this is the more current picture.
Yeah. Behind that dollar store.
This is Bordelon Chevrolet.
The Avi Bordelon.
Oh, that's the side of the sports bar.
And that's where the sports bar is now.
Bose Garage.
Bose Garage.
Yeah. Riley's. Riley's Modern Courts Restaurant Service Station. Of course, back then, that was before the word motel was invented.
What was it? The
Tourist court, and then they would call it inn. And all that.
And this is the courts right here. Riley's Modern Courts.
And then beyond that was Riley's a movie place.
Midway.
Oh, the Midway
The Midway
Theater.
Theater.
The Midway Theater. Oh, yes.
This is Brown's Home Appliances, 1939. It became Brown's Furniture Store. This is an article on it. This is Carey Motor Company selling Kaiser, Willis, and Packard vehicles.
Kaiser. Wow. What's the name of that guy?
Carey Motor Company.
It was Lee Carey, my uncle.
Hot dog, Cass's Ball, sip the suds. Let's see, fight the phone from 4 to 5 and sip the suds till 6.
What? That's right. The coldest beer in town.
It was
Coldest beer in town.
And it was also a drive. My parents would go there and go and get a mug of beer and come in the car. You could park there and drink in your car.
At the corner of
Big mug.
Landry and Liberty. And you would pull in and pull parallel to it.
I'd get a 7 up, I remember.
Well, those were the days, huh?
Cass's Ball. All right.
And they had a drive-through. If you was too embarrassed to go
that's-
inside, you could go in the drive-through. Because my aunt,
Yeah.
my old aunt would say she wanted a bottle of whiskey, and she said too embarrassing to go inside. So you could go in the drive-through and buy your little bottle of whiskey.
Or stay on the
It was
parking
on the corner across from Old DC Pontiac, right across. Well, I can remember that.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, well, it's still a bar now. Somebody has it right there in the bar. I have to tell you that one night after the auxiliary for either the American Legion or the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Mama and Miss Langford and several other ladies decided that they were going to go and get a little glass of beer. So, not wanting to get down any place, they drive to Cass's Bar. And one of the ladies says, well, and I think there were 5 or 6 in the car, we can get a quart of Schlitz and split it. And one lady said, a quart of Schlitz, I can drink one by myself.
Sounds like she'd had a little bit of it.
And I'll never forget that. That's how I know about Cass's Bar real well.
I remember it.
All right. Champ Motor Sales. They sold Studebaker.
At the corner across from the cemetery, as you come in to Opelousas from Port Barry, the building, it's now a service station or something, but it was right there.
Yeah, who was the family that ran it in the 50s? I can't think of their last
Glasscock.
Glasscock.
Seaman Glasgow.
Delta Theater.
Oh,
Hot
yeah.
dog.
Oh, yeah.
Before the remodeling. Then Delta Theater after.
Albert Dejon worked there, and J. Allen worked there, and who else? Pappy.
Renee Stelly, man.
Mr. Renee, yeah.